Welcome into the Washed Up Walk-Ons, another episode of the show. Grant, welcome in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I called you Grant.
Appreciate it. You did. This is my name.
You're the only one here tonight.
I am the only one here. Yeah. Well, you're here. I mean,
What's going on?
it's not just a Grant solo episode. Like you're
Kevin
here as
said-
well.
Yeah, sure. Kevin said that he was on PTO tonight.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a joke, as in that's the way he told us he wasn't doing the show? Or do you think that's actual PTO from his real job?
I couldn't tell.
I couldn't either.
Did he confirm either way?
Didn't say a word.
I was like, it's a little late for parent-teacher conferences, and also when you don't
That's
have
what
a kid,
I responded. I responded to him. I was like, Kevin, that is so generous of you to volunteer, even without children. You hasn't even had kids yet. He's
I was like,
volunteering.
I didn't know anyone could just show up to those things.
The parent teacher organization. Yeah,
I realized it was open.
Kevin would be the wrong guy for that. I think
Is anyone the right guy for that?
for like PTA or PTO.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out here shortly for me in 5 years.
They don't have it for the preschool.
I doubt it.
Or the
I don't
daycare.
think. I'm sure there's volunteer opportunities at the preschools. Here we are. I don't know what tonight's episode is going to be about.
Oh, okay. Well, it could be about. Did you watch Army Navy at all?
I did. Let's start there.
Okay. All right.
Betfred Sports sponsors this podcast, title sponsor. I want to give them a shout out. Thanks to the people at Betfred for partnering with the Walk-Ons this season. We had one game that we previewed on last episode, and it was Army Navy. It's America's game. Both jerseys, incredible. The experience, the game, the fanfare, the atmosphere,
Immaculate.
incredible.
Yeah. No, some people don't like Army Navy, but I love it. Like it's one of my favorite games.
Who
every
is a
year.
person who doesn't like that game?
Oh, go on Twitter and look. Like a lot of people were like that worst game ever. Don't like watching it. Like, yeah, I mean it's triple option, but it's still fun. I mean, I still enjoy it. Like it's a little different than what you're used to seeing. And like you said, uniforms awesome. Like the pageantry before the game too, awesome.
Yeah.
I couldn't get enough of it. Plus, too, like when did we start throwing the ball so much? Army Navy.
Army's getting
what's
into
going
like
on?
4 wide sets.
Oh yeah, Army was like they looked like the lines out there. They were going for it on like 4th and 5, a bunch. I was like, what is going on? I was like, guys, this is like we're not like this team's not built for this. Let's just punt it. All right, this is Army Navy.
It's not the Air Force. They're not built to battle in the air.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff like early in the season of like Navy's going to open up this year, and they're just going to start launching it downfield.
Really?
And,
There was rumors,
and I think like they have thrown it more than usual, but it's definitely not. I mean,
I'd love to see the numbers on it. Like
they don't look like Ole Miss, like they're not throwing it like crazy or anything.
Ole Miss, speaking of, could have been the bowl opponent. Was like the projected bowl opponent for a little bit there in some projections for Iowa, and that would have been one heck of a contrast.
Well, I mean, Tennessee's no different.
Tennessee's pretty close. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's the exact same. One team wears orange and one team has Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
So
old Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, but no. With Army Navy though, the ending of that game was thrilling. Well, it was also it did look like Navy was totally dead for a little bit, and after the Ty Lavatai interception, but they ended up coming back, and also for us having +3 or -3, as well as the total of 27.5, it coming down to a QB sneak on the goal line.
Wow,
was that's why you gamble. That's why we watch football. Like
it was
everything.
Right yeah.
It was like if you had either side or the total, that was as good as it gets. Like I stopped QB sneak for both of them.
It was pretty good.
That was fantastic. I was like, we're in finals right now, so I was doing a little studying on the side too.
Mm.
That last
You have a
drive,
test tomorrow, dude.
I have a test in like, let's see, I have a
You
test in
should not be
11 hours.
You should not be podcasting. Let's be honest. Let's be real honest.
I have a test at 7:30 a.m. tomorrow.
That's not good.
But anyways, so I was doing some studying as well. Came to a complete halt the rest of that drive. I was like, everyone stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
We need to watch this drive.
Have you been at home all weekend or any library action or?
No, apparently there was like a line to get into the library. I saw this morning. Like it was packed.
Fucking nerds.
But I have internet here, and I want to watch.
Yeah,
we know
the
Broncos.
About,
had a big game today, so.
Well, let's talk about that too. I feel like resident Bronco on the show, like we can't just skip over relevant content there.
Sure.
Another big win.
Yeah, this was a must win. The Broncos had to win this game, and that was, I think it might have been the best game we played all year. Broncos defense looked spectacular. Josie Jewell, also spectacular as always.
Sack?
I mean, what is it?
He had a sack.
Yes, so did like everyone on the Broncos defense.
There was a lot of sacks.
Yeah,
like
we were in the backfield the entire game. The Broncos look fantastic. You still got to win though. Lions next week, who are coming off of a loss, which has me a little bit more worried now. If they beat the Bears today, I would have felt better about it. But I'm optimistic right now. They're playing their best football right now.
Is it week 13 or 14?
It is week 14, I believe.
14. So there are 4 games left? 5 games left in the regular season?
We have 4 games left. We have to play the Chargers again, the Lions, the Raiders, and the Patriots. So all of them I feel like are winnable. But we do have to win 3
the Lions
of the next
one
4.
Is tough next week.
Yes.
And you have to win 3 of 4 to get in the playoffs? And is that for sure or to have a chance?
To have a chance. But also like the AFC is such a mess right now. It could end up falling in our favor anyway. Like, but the bottom of the AFC between like the Browns, Colts, Texans, Bills, and Broncos is such a mess that I feel like anyone can really squeeze in to a playoff spot or lose a playoff spot at any moment.
So every game the Broncos play now is just like we're stepping on the field and we got to win this sucker.
I mean, the Broncos we have to win this sucker since week 6 because we started out 1-5.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we had all of our room to mess around really went out the window about 2 months ago because of our poor start.
Because of how you started. I want to give a quick shout out. No free shout outs, but hey, Culver's sponsor the podcast. If you're watching the YouTube, I'm drinking a nice tall water. This is proof that I still maintain some balance of health, even when I'm unhealthy. Triple Butterburger. As people who follow me on Twitter know, it's Sunday Culver's, baby. Triple Butterburger, cheese curds, and a 2-scoop hot fudge sundae that's waiting for me after this podcast. But a nice tall water. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. We need them to sponsor this show. In fact,
you just do an ad for Culver's that doesn't pay us.
I did an ad for Culver's. I did an ad for anybody who potentially wants to sponsor this show, Grant. Because you know what?
What?
I feel like we're not. I feel like we don't do enough host-read, like true partnerships on this show. We do Betfred. Betfred's great.
Yeah.
All the other ads on this show are just like the pre-read ones that get stuck in the slots. I want to get some legitimate partnerships going.
That's normal for podcasts, though. Like,
I know, but dude,
I
want some legitimate partners where we can like have some fun and do like some, like actually talk about them during the show and work them into the content.
We do that though. Betfred has their own segment.
Betfred sponsors the whole damn thing, but imagine if Culver's, we just whipped out cheese curds mid podcast.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping.
We get a lot of negative reviews about chewing during the podcast. I don't think that would help them. If I had to guess.
Well, Drake not being here might decrease those. But I'm really hoping that we can secure that spot, that Ponchero's idea.
Is that in the works or?
I texted you guys that the Ponchero's Twitter account followed our Wash Up Walk-Ons account on Twitter, right?
Yeah, I mean I feel like they've been on like a little Twitter spree lately. Like they've been
sure, but they only follow like 1,000 people.
1,000's kind of a lot on Twitter. Kind of a lot.
But randomly follow the Wash Up Walk-Ons podcast after I don't know. I still think that burrito lift idea, pump it up segment of the week would be absolutely killer.
We have a lot of ideas, but how many of them actually make it outside of the idea segment?
Me?
Or
ideas?
anything.
Oh God,
like how many ideas actually get past like, oh, this would be cool?
Grant, that's how media works, baby. You throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, and every once in a while something sticks. Right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah. I guess.
Broncos, you guys got to sweat over every game is just a huge sweat now. That's exciting for you as a football fan, right?
It is exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's with if you're a Broncos fan, I mean, we haven't been like rooting this late in the season since 2015, basically. Wow. Like it's been a while since the Broncos were like serious playoff contenders, and like I mentioned, like too, even if they do get into the playoffs, right? Let's say you're the 6 or 7 seed. It's probably, if they do get in, they're probably the 7th seed. Like the AFC is such a mess. Like I wouldn't put it past them to maybe be able to steal a win. Like especially if the defense is playing as well as they are.
They'd be playing the Eagles or the
no, that's the NFC. So they'd be playing probably.
Oh, they'd be playing the Niners.
That's also the NFC. We'd be playing probably like I think the Ravens are going to get the 1 seed in the AFC. It might be the Chiefs again. The Bills are about to beat the Chiefs, or I think they might just have as we were talking. So it could be. It's probably somewhere between like the. Let's pull up the playoff picture right now. Actually.
The Chiefs are like 8-5 or something.
Yeah, so they're going to drop now too. It could be the Dolphins again, and it would be nice to get revenge from letting them drop 70 on our heads earlier in the season.
What a rematch that would be! Seeing
it would also be quite the turnaround if it's like what you guys gave up 70 like 3 months ago to this team, and if you beat them in the playoffs,
dude, 70 so many points. That's so many points.
I think,
the Chiefs dynasty, is it over?
No, they like to do this thing where it's like they like to fool you a little bit into tricking you into thinking they're bad. And then like they end up in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl anyway, every time. So like I need to see them miss the playoffs or eliminate in the first round like back-to-back years to be like dynasty over. I need to see I need to see that first in order to believe it. Like as someone who has been beaten and
you have
Chiefs
some trauma
for like 8 years now.
Yeah,
I need to actually see them not be contending for some sort of trophy at any moment.
You probably need a little bit more than the average NFL fan just because of the interdivision trauma that you have.
What do you mean?
Well, they've just bent you over the table and paddled your ass for 6-8 years. And so for you, it's always going to feel like they've got something going even more than if they're
like the NFL has felt like that. I mean, that whole NFL has watched the Chiefs be one of the
you're right.
the top 3 team consistently for pretty much ever since Patrick Mahomes came into the league.
I would love to know. I would love to know what their odds to win the Super Bowl are right now and where they sit. Because I got to imagine Niners are ahead of them, Eagles are ahead of them.
They're probably still top 5 in odds, though.
I would say they might be 4 or 5, but I don't think they're top 3.
Let's see on Betfred, right? They're not letting you. I forgot they don't let you bet futures while there's games on. Let's go to Super Bowl odds because they're about to change. Super Bowl odds 2024. The Chiefs are 5-1 right now, so it's still like you still have a top. Yeah, they're still one of the top teams.
To polish off that,
they're second. They're second in Super Bowl.
Really? Jesus Christ! To polish off that Betfred recap segment of one game, we all took the under in that game. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And just the ending of that game, I think they knew. They listened to our podcast before it, obviously. And then secondly, obviously you were the only one on Army there. And so you look better than me and Kevin.
Yes, you guys.
Tough week. You want to know what I thought was the best element of that entire game was the Army uniforms, where they have Army big and bold on the back, where the name usually goes, and then the name, like where their name would be on the actual Army uniforms.
That was a really good touch. I like that.
The little name patch on the front is elite, dude. And I feel like, honestly, every team should do that. But then it would kind of be like, you're ripping this off from Army, because that's kind of how they roll year round attire wise. No,
that's definitely Army's thing. Like Iowa can't roll out there with that.
What if we did like a really cool like design like that, like a patch design where it just said like walk on the chest and it looked like a sewn on patch?
I need to see it, I think, to get an idea of it. For sure. I don't know.
Did you see the graphic?
I was going to say the walk-off intentional safety was one of the toughest moments.
That one hurts.
I've seen. Like it was, especially after you had, like we were talking about, the goal line stop. It's like, oh my gosh, we made it.
Yep,
we got
you did it.
And you're like, oh shoot, they have to do one more play. Surely he's not going to run out of the back of the end zone. Now, surely they're just going to QB sneak this thing forward.
Right. Yeah.
And it's going to work. And they
didn't do that.
As soon as the play-by-play crew is even like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just go shotgun and kneel it. And then you see him in shotgun. And you're like, well, this is Army. This could only mean one thing.
Yeah.
And he just Orlovsky's that thing right out of the end zone. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so brutal. I tweeted out moments before. I was like, wow, a Army intentional safety here would just ruin my day. And lo and behold, moments later.
You're a good if you're generally a sports fan, you're a good follow on Twitter.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
That's very nice.
Are you wearing Santa's suit tonight, or what are you wearing? Is that just a sweatshirt that happens to look
this is like one of those like hoodie sweatshirts.
Is that the Avalanche?
It is the Avalanche.
Okay.
It's on their Stanley Cup quest right now.
Hockey, when the fuck? Hockey's like a couple months into their season.
Yeah. No, they've been going for a little bit now.
Are the Avalanche good?
Are the Avalanche good? Kluver. Oh my goodness. Dude, the Avalanche are very, very good right now. They are in the lead of their division. They're going to be a top 5 team all season. It's just about staying healthy for the Avalanche right now. Get into the playoffs, get everyone healthy. Like they were the betting favorite to win the Stanley Cup preseason. Wow. I'm sure they're up there still. There's other good teams too, like Vegas is good again, but they're going to be in it pretty much until the end. They have a good record right now. I mean, they start off the season like I think they won their first like 7 games in a row, which in hockey that's really hard to do. Come June when it's Avalanche playoffs, or I guess this is more like April, May.
Are we going to become an Avalanche adjacent podcast?
Well, I tried to make this an Avalanche Nuggets adjacent podcast last time, but it didn't really, wasn't really catching on.
I don't think you had established your footing yet as part of the show. You just needed more time.
Oh, well, I tried my best.
Because your JMU enthusiasm really took hold this fall football season.
I was leading. Hey, you got to lead from the front. All right. If I want to guide people to JMU, I will preach it from the mountaintops.
How do you feel as a football fan now that the regular season of college is over and we're in this weird sort of lull period? I know that bowl games are going to start up, I think, next week already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think like the 16th
Saturday.
or somewhere.
Yeah. You get Saturday, I think it's the New Mexico Bowl between New Mexico State and Fresno State. But there's like 6 bowl games on that day.
Are you going to be dialed into that too? Just got like 6 or 7 like in-game bets on that thing?
Next Saturday is going to be awesome too because I think there's 3 NFL games that get flexed to Saturday, including Broncos-Lions.
They do. You're
Saturday
right.
night. And then you also have bowl games all day. So Saturday is actually going to be amazing. And I'll be done finals by then.
Wow.
It'll just be couch all day.
And you're going to be – are you going to be going home? You're going to be going home, right? Because you have a huge break.
Yes. No, I'm flying back to Colorado this week.
Love it. Love it.
No,
when is your last final?
Wednesday night.
Love it.
At like 8 p.m.
Don't love the 8 p.m., but you love being done before Thursday.
It is nice to be done. It is kind of crammed, though. I have like a million essays to do and tests to do before then. Like next, 3 days are going to be rough for old Grant here. But
hey, you lock in from the minute you do not need to show up for DHT. Drake and I can do that.
I'm going to be on a plane anyway, so it's not going to help. But
perfect. Wait, you're going to be on a plane? You have.
Correct. It's a remote final on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll be on play.
Okay, cool. Good deal.
Now, Saturday's bowl games. You want to do a little bit of the matchups here?
I would love to. I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
10 a.m. over here. So that's that is
Wow.
8 in California on the West Coast.
Got to set their alarms.
Georgia Southern, Ohio, Myrtle Beach Bowl going on. You also got UCLA Boise's on Saturday. That'll be an awesome game. You got some.
Where do they
matchups.
play the Myrtle Beach Bowl?
I'm gonna go with Myrtle Beach. It's probably.
I mean, like, what stadium is there?
It's in Brooks Stadium, South Carolina.
Wow, it's gotta be ass.
Did you guys do any like a bowl pick'em at all last year? Like a bowl extravaganza?
It's been asked. We don't really we don't come through very often. I do believe
we don't follow through on a lot of things we say.
Facts. There's just, again, a lot of ideas, and then like it's a lot of like split energy into a lot of things where we really should just focus our energy into a couple good things. But I think now that you mention it, and we're ahead of the game here a little bit, a week out, we could probably set up a little bowl pick'em pool for the old Walk On Army on Patreon. Okay. I know last year I want to say that one of our Patreon members did it and then invited everybody, but I did not set it up, or like Kevin, no, none of the three of us actually set it up, but there was one, I believe, that was set up. I'm sure that's something that you would be very interested in.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, not to shamelessly plug me and the ITK boys as much as possible, but I mean, we did last year and we're going to do it again. We got to pick every game. We do like a whole extravaganza episode.
Oh, if you're going to pick the game,
it's like an hour and a half of just every game.
Well, then shameless plug. Everybody funnel your way over to the In the Kitchen podcast. I don't know when that one's going to come out. Probably this week sometime. You'll probably talk about
Thursday.
And you'll probably talk about your bowl pick'em. So everybody just join that one if you want people to join that one. Oh
yeah. Also, it is funny, a shocking amount of people. Someone in the Discord was talking about it. They're like, "Wait, that's not a food podcast." Like, someone thought it was it's a Grant's culinary podcast that he does on the side.
You should, for In the Kitchen, you should do the entire show on sports like you do. Basically, everything's the same. But then when you guys sign off, you do a recommendation of the week, and it's just like, by the way, here's a great way to chop onions. And you just give like a kitchen tip at the very end that has nothing to do with anything else that you talked about. Like, here's this amazing strainer that I found on Amazon. It's my recommendation of the week. Yeah. And then you just sign off like nothing happened.
I could do it. I could look into like knife sharpeners.
Yeah.
See different kitchen utensils.
Yes.
Maybe like a drying rack. See what's all going on. Could look into it. I do want to ask you about bowl games though, because it's kind of getting different. Bowl games, they look a little bit different than I feel like when you guys played, because obviously like the transfer portal wasn't crazy. Like now, there was before like guys would opt out and stuff, right? Like that's still relevant. But now it's like, I mean, it's not only just guys are opting out, but it's like, okay, guys are just going to enter the portal and like they're not going to play anyway. Like let's say like Dylan Gabriel, for instance, like he plays for Oklahoma.
Big transfer of the week, by the way.
Yeah, like he's going to Oregon now. Yeah. That totally changes what their bowl game is going to look like, right? So, are you worried at all for like what bowl games are going to look like moving forward? Like, do you think it hurts in a sense like the excitement around them, that like guys are opting out and like now it's like we're just watching the backup quarterbacks coming in?
My initial gut reaction to that is bowl games are dead. But I don't fully believe that, because I'm not super qualified here on the history side of this. I know back when it was the BCS system, bowl games mattered, man. Like, bowl games mattered. Especially the ones at the top, always the ones at the top. Mm-hmm. But, like, pretty much all of them. It felt like there was hype around most of the games. And there weren't as many, like, back in the 2000s. So I don't know how many bowl games on average there were, like up through the 80s, 90s, 2000s.
There's a lot.
No.
Well, but sorry, now. My bad.
There is a lot now, right? Mm-hmm. I would love to know it goes back to the whole thing where like, Minnesota gets into a bowl game at 5-7 because Hawaii kicks a field goal with 1 second left and beats Colorado State and keeps them from like
What a great
that
moment.
kind of. But is it though? That kind of
That
shit is
Hawaii
like
game was awesome. What?
okay.
That was
How were you
fantastic.
up? How were you up at that time?
Are you asking how a college student was up at like 1 a.m. on a Saturday?
Guess that's a good point. Was that when you closed down the bar? Did you close down the bar on that one?
You can't. I don't think there's any bar that closes at 1 a.m.
Okay, that's true.
Oh no, that was like what was that?
A couple weeks before that when it was like a Pac-12.
No, it was like USC Cal, I think, when they went to like was it even Cal? USC went to overtime with someone.
Stanford.
Oh, it might have been Stanford. I don't know who it was. Okay, sorry. It's
That's a really great anecdote of you just being at the bar, being like, this guy really loves football. It's 2:31 in the morning. No, but so bowl games. It just from what I can tell and old highlights and the way that people talk about the BCS system, kind of let's call it pre-2010.
Mm-hmm.
The playoff was obviously implemented a couple years after that. It felt like everything mattered. Like my dad who was on Iowa for 2 years back in 86 and 87 talked so fondly of his memories of like making the Holiday Bowl, right? Yeah. And that's not the Orange Bowl. That's not the Rose Bowl. That's not the national championship. But man, it was important to him and the way he talked about that and like going to play. I think they played Washington and I can't remember who else.
Yeah.
And now as the games, there's just so many factors that like the bowl games have just taken a hit after hit after hit. The transfer portal hurts, right? Because now you have teams that look completely different than they did during the regular season. It's almost like, people were so high on bowl season, one, because cool, it's a postseason, but two, especially inside the program, because it's such an important time for your young guys and guys who haven't developed yet, guys who are going to be getting significant time the following season, trying to build the program. Your off season really starts there. That's almost the only reason it's important now, unless you make the playoff, because, and you could argue some of those other New Year's Six games, but guys that are really good, we've seen it. McCord, Gabriel, they're out. They're chasing the bag. I would love to know what Gabriel got at Oregon, by the way. I want to know that number.
It's, I'd guess 2 million.
I was going to say 2 or more.
Maybe.
They're chasing money. So we're just playing. It was like when Iowa played Kentucky without Will Levis. It was like, okay, well, this is an entirely different team then. They didn't have their quarterback.
I mean, he was going to the NFL, though, but it was a little different.
But they didn't have him, right?
No.
So it's like when teams play a team that don't have their starters, it's just like, what are we watching here, right? It's just like
no, it's a weird. It makes the product weird. It's like I know. It's like, okay, if you told me I was gonna get Oregon State Notre Dame, right, which is the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl coming up here. If you told me that week 3, I'd be like, wow, great game, awesome. But now it's like Oregon State, like they don't have their head coach, they don't have DJ. I think they're missing a receiver too. And it's like
I'm sure Notre Dame's in the same boat.
Yeah, I think Sam Howell is still going to be, or not Sam Howell. Shoot, Sam Hartman. My apologies.
Hartman,
NFL brain. NFL brain. Sorry, but
I'm
sure he's going to still play. Sam Howell is he's a commander. Sam Hartman is I think older actually, but still
probably.
Notre Dame. Anyways, but I think that game is totally different now. I would have been so excited week 3, but now it's like I don't. Now, Notre Dame's probably just going to run away with it. I hope not. I hope it's still competitive. But it's like, I don't know. But that's where I do kind of like this aspect of, my favorite part of bowl games almost is okay, the playoff is awesome, right? And then, Iowa's bowl game is fun too, right? But I love, sometimes, the little bowl games are more fun because it's to a New Mexico State, to a Fresno State. That bowl game means so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. They don't have a ton of guys that are like, oh, I'm going to the NFL. This is a lot of guys' last game ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think the middle class of bowl games is is what gets hurt the most. The ones that are like, oh, you've got teams that are good enough that they have pretty good talent in several areas, right? They have 3 or 4 really great players, but unfortunately, those players are either out because they don't want to get hurt for the NFL, or they're transferring and they're not even participating with the team. Obviously, the teams in the playoff, you see some of the portal numbers coming out, and like Michigan has no portal entries yet. Well, yeah, of course, because they're trying to win a national championship right now.
No. And like anyone who is in the portal right now wasn't playing anyway. So it's like it's not affecting their team.
And so
it would be a wild move if like JJ was like, I'm out.
Then you also have the weird, like, you know, the money side of these things where it's like, I don't know what you just called the Tony the Tiger
Sun Bowl.
Well, like the naming rights and the branding on all these things, it's like there's a new sponsor for these games every year. So
there's some good ones this year.
You lose that branding, right? Like,
yeah,
the Outback Bowl, like,
rest in peace.
That was great. It
great.
had tradition. It had a established brand to it. You run those fuckers out there in the bloomin' onion and the what do they call it? The
bloomin' onion and the coconut shrimp.
And the coconut shrimp, and you run those 2 guys out there in those costumes during the game.
Those guys are getting me fired up. As we're playing like
fired
Mississippi State, getting me fired up.
But like, now you get the Cheez-It Bowl, but then 2 years, like
we had 2 Cheez-It Bowls last year,
right? Like, I'm just
games.
the branding is weird, and then the big question to me too is like, as the playoff expands, now you open up more teams getting into the playoff. And so now it really feels like if you don't make the playoff, then like, what's the point? Right.
Yeah. And I still think though,
like, because who gives a shit about the NIT in basketball?
I think I think smaller schools still value it a lot.
I would agree that if you go
like Rutgers last year, right? NIT, they were so mad they didn't make the tournament. Like they probably, like, in my opinion, I thought they deserved it. But yeah, they go in the first round and then they lose in the NIT, right? Because like a different school who was so happy to be there and like, we get another chance to play basketball, goes out there and beats them anyway. So like, I think when it gets to 12 next year, I think the New Mexico Bowl is still going to matter. The teams that go to the New Mexico Bowl, right? I think that's still going to matter. But
I agree.
I think you're right with like the middle class of bowl games, and like the middle class teams are going to hurt the most, especially because too, those are the teams that are getting a lot of times like their head coaches poached the most.
Yes.
And if a head coach gets
head coach leaves like before the bowl game,
then it's like open floodgates. Like everyone's out anyway.
That season there is no longer any focus or energy in that building at all.
Yeah.
Oregon State right now, it's got to be the weirdest thing to walk into that building. And like,
it's such a shame too. I'm such a fan of their program right
now. It
now.
is what it is too, because like if you're on the coaching carousel and you're a coach, and you know what, good on you. You're a guy trying to make a living, and you got an opportunity to really elevate yourself to a bigger school, a bigger brand, go get a bag for a coaching contract.
Yeah,
but
those schools, JMU's coach going to the Big Ten. Like, how can he can't say no?
No, and those coaches have to do that before the next. They got to get there. They got to start building a program immediately, building a fan base, building a culture. You can't just step in first day of second semester and start doing that. It has to be now. Like the timing and in the calendar, the way that works, it just doesn't work well. So it's weird. And so you're right. The teams that are playing like on the 6th, the teams that play before Christmas, those teams,
it's almost all.
Well, I guess before Christmas, yeah. Teams that play in the teens, I guess 16, 17, 18, 19, 20th of December, those games, you're right. Those teams they weren't teams that were expected to make the playoff. They weren't teams who are going to have a ton of guys opting out for the NFL. They're not teams where their coaches are getting poached. So they probably have the most similar looking program after 3 weeks after the regular season ends, where those teams are going in, they're fired up.
Yeah, like Miami, Ohio went 11-2 this year. They just won the MAC, and they get to play App State, which is like App State's a really good team. This is a massive game for them. And now it's like they get to go on like basically a free vacation. They're going to Orlando. All the families get to go down.
Yes.
it's an awesome opportunity for them.
I was just going to say that a lot of these teams who are in those kind of bottom tier bowl games too, they don't go bowling every year.
No.
Right? So, like that's where these teams like Tennessee and Iowa, even Iowa, and a lot of these teams who are not playoff caliber, again, we'll call them the middle class of bowl games, which is really the biggest class. You're basically looking at every bowl game after the top 4 or 5 or 6, all the way down to like the bottom 5 or 6. So like the middle 30 bowl games, all of those teams are teams that are like
Liberty Bowl, the Gator Bowl.
Yeah, all of those teams are like teams who are like, yeah, we win 6 or 7 or 8 games every year as a and that's like we make bowl games. So it's not exciting enough to just make the bowl game.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I would love to see the numbers. And maybe this is why there's different sponsorships coming in all the time now, is because companies or brands are only willing to take on a bowl game for 1 or 2 or 3 years. And then they see like, we're not getting a return on this investment. Like, it's just not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still college football and it's still the United States of America. It's still going to get a lot of viewers, but I just don't know what it's like in comparison to if Oregon State did have their head coach right now.
Yeah.
Or if
what
they
it
did
used to
DJ.
be.
I'm not really sure I'm not sure how different it would be, but like, I know like the New Year's Six is still going to do stupid well, no matter what. Like, even if, it's like, I don't know if there's any immediate opt-outs that come into my mind right now in the New Year's Six, but like, there's still going to be really good games in that.
I don't know what.
Oh, yeah. Kyle McCord is not playing in Ohio State. That's a new part of it, but
yeah, I don't know what.
Ohio State, Missouri is still going to have great viewership, no matter what.
It will. That game will get, team. I would say like basically
Especially
down to Iowa. Like I think Iowa is kind of one of those first games. It's like, people don't give a shit.
Oh,
like
yeah, Iowa plays Tennessee. It's like the first or second game in the morning, New Year's Day.
Right.
It's like people went to bed like 4 hours before the game.
Yeah, it's like, man, once you get past that top 12, it's really kind of matches up with how many teams are going to be in the playoff. I just think back to like, I don't know what ranked bowl game the Fiesta Bowl would be, but the 2007,
yeah,
it's up there. It's definitely up there, but it's not like, again, it's not the Rose Bowl. It's not the.
It's pretty important depending on the year. I mean, it's a semifinal some years. Like,
I just remember the 2007 Fiesta Bowl against it was Oklahoma, Boise State.
Oh, it's like the best college football game of all time.
And it wasn't the national championship, but it's like it mattered, man. Like those games, and I understand that one was up there because Boise State was really great that year, and Oklahoma's obviously historically a great program. But it's just like it feels like we don't get any of those anymore. I don't know.
Well, you did have, and it's again like I think in the little games you get better. Like I remember how awesome like Arkansas versus Kansas last year in the Liberty Bowl was. Like Kansas crazy comeback. Some dude wearing a pig, like a hog costume, dressed up as a Razorback, stands up in front of the camera to block the TV crew from shooting the game tying touchdown. Like it was amazing. It was an awesome game, but it's like it's the Liberty Bowl. It's not a New Year's Six game. Like those games are still awesome. I remember those. And maybe I'm just weird. Maybe it's just Grant is the only person watching this game outside of like the parents of Kansas and Arkansas. But I do want to mention that too. Like, yeah, Liberty, they've only been to 5 bowl games ever. And this is their 5th one. And it's a New Year's Six bowl game against Oregon.
Huge.
Yeah. Like Oregon, I think obviously still wants to win it. And I think they are going to. Like, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Liberty's good. I don't think they're as good as Oregon.
They could get exposed a little bit.
Yeah. But it's like, is Oregon going to be super fired up as much when they thought they were going to go to the playoff, and then now they're playing Liberty?
Liberty, I bet your ass is all what's it called? All full steam ahead.
Yeah.
On this,
and on the other side too, they could just be super, super mad, and they go just beat the brakes off of them. Like that was last year. Like Alabama played Kansas State, and part of me was like, oh, is Alabama just not even going to show up? And then they had every starter play that game, and they just boat raced Kansas State.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting conversation again. Like,
so I have another question for you about that stuff. So how come you see a lot of these teams like with guys in the NFL, they opt out or whatever, right? And then they also, and I'm sure you've talked about this before on the show. I just want to clarify, but how does Kirk Ferentz seemed to always convince guys to play and go all out for bowl games, as opposed to other programs.
I think that's definitely a product of the culture. And I understand that is such a cliche answer that every single player at every school says, like, oh, it's just, we got great culture here. The guys in the locker room love each other. Every playerism or coachism that you've ever heard. And again, I never played anywhere else. I have some insight, and I know some guys who have played in other programs. So I get a feel for how they operated a little bit. I truly believe that when people say like Iowa is different, I think that like the stats are out there to back that up. And I think the culture is part of that. I think the first element to that, the first pillar of that Iowa is different idea is Coach Ferentz. You look at, and that's who you asked the question about. He's been there 25 years. He's been there longer, 5 times as long as the average coaching job or tenure at a Division I school right now. I think we looked that up. The average tenure is like 4.3 years or 4.4, something like that. When you have that kind of stability, that bleeds down through the assistant coaches, through the video staff, the equipment managers, everybody. You again, sort of going back to that established brand thing with all these companies sponsoring bowl games. People know what they're going to get, and so it's easier to buy into that. Players included. Obviously, you want player buy-in more than anything. So not only just in the recruiting process, but then you get guys into the building who listen to Coach Ferentz. They are coached by Coach Ferentz and the coaches that Coach Ferentz has on his staff. And it's the same messaging. It's the same vibe. It's a family feeling. It's the culture that they build, the Iowa way. And on another note, and I think it's what makes, Iowa gets talked about as the developmental program. When you're a developmental program and that's what your genetics are, that's what you're known as when ESPN or national talking heads talk about you. There's a certain kind of athlete, a certain kind of person who works in a developmental program and those who don't. And it's not that other places don't have people who work hard, but it's guys who are willing to buy in, guys who are willing to stay a little bit longer, guys who are willing to come to the middle of Iowa and not have a lot of flash and not be, the sexy Penn State or Alabama. And I know they have, 5 stars and 4 stars. We don't always have the opportunity to get those guys, but just guys who are gritty and want to work hard. And I think there's a correlation between those kind of people and the kind of people who, where it comes time to make a decision of, do I want to play in this bowl game? Do I not? Do I want to leave after my junior season? Do I not? More often than not, you just get a few more of those guys who are like, no, I want to stick this out. I want one more in the black and gold. And that's my best answer for it. But even then, you have guys who leave early, Linderbaum, several guys over the past couple years. I mean, Wirfs, I'll never forget and those are kind of like generational guys who are like so good you can't pass it up. But like Desmond came back for a final year. Yeah, I mean,
I don't blame guys for leaving early sometimes, but like I was more saying specifically like bowl games, like convincing guys like Laporta still go play in the bowl game.
Yeah, I think it's
like Jack Campbell. These dudes are like, okay, like you're probably gonna be a first round pick, and guys sit out a lot of times because like I don't want to risk getting hurt or anything.
Yeah,
like there is a little bit of a gamble to it, but it seems like with Iowa consistently the guys like I still want to play that last game with my team.
Yeah, I think it's the teammates thing there. I think it's like, man, you feel like you're quitting on your teammates. Even if the teammates understand and they would all tell you like, dude, it's fine. Like, we're not going to hold it against you. You feel like you kind of feel like you're giving up on your teammates. You just played a whole season with them. And it's like, man, like, okay. Like it's all you're worried about. You're not worried about like, I feel like guys like the feeling and knowing that they ran the whole race. They finished it off. They did everything they were supposed to do. They put a cap on their career and they walked out and got to fully experience their time as a Hawk. I don't know. It's it's something it's just part of what makes Iowa special. It's a good question though.
Yeah. Did you have teammates that you were like, oh, I could see him opting out, and you were ever surprised? Or a guy that came back one year and you're like, wow, I can't believe he's actually doing this.
Yeah, I mean Desmond was the big one. He had a crazy season in 2015, which was our third year, and he had been playing since our freshman year. So it was like, man, is he gonna is he gone? And he came back for another year. Who else? Man, I when Josh left early our senior year, I think he played in the bowl game. Not I think. I know he played in the bowl game in the Pinstripe game.
Did you wear shoes, by the way, for that? Did you wear sneakers? Because I remember guys were switching
cleats.
into the basketball shoes.
Cleats.
So bad.
And I probably should have worn basketball. I mean, I didn't have any, but we've talked about that game and that environment that so many times, and it still will never come across in a way that you can understand unless you were on that field. It was like there wasn't dirt in the field. It was like
probably wasn't.
It was grass that was somehow growing out of ice.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I've never so when you get down into a long snapper stance or like even a lineman stance, you widen your feet outside of what you would normally stand at, right? You're usually standing like at hip or shoulder width. Mm-hmm. You widen that stance out probably 4 to 6 inches on both sides when you bend down to do a long snapper, get into a lineman stance. Widening my feet even just that little amount had me slipping to where I would I was slowly extending into the splits if I wasn't careful, because it was literally that
to get a good block on anyone then, or to plant your feet into a block.
Yeah, just go watch the game. You can see a ton of it.
I mean, I did watch the game.
Yeah. It was the dumbest shit. It was the dumbest shit I've ever that game. Maybe the result is similar, but just the way that game played speed wise, and it would have been so different if we were just had a normal field. It was so crazy.
Well, I just remember guys trying to break down and cut, and it was
impossible.
Just impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. Akram, he can cut on a dime, would just run out of bounds when he got close to the sideline because there was no cutting back in. Yeah. There was no stopping your momentum.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
Yeah. I guess we'll leave it with this. Did you see that? I just wanted to mention this before we got out of here. Well, I guess there was some basketball games today too. Iowa men got absolutely ran out of the building, I guess.
You gotta figure it out.
Yeah, there's some regrouping that needs to be done there. Maybe a rebuild year for the Iowa men. Women got it done. Packed, sold out Wisconsin arena. First time they sold out a game there in 21 years. Students lining up at 8:30 in the morning. Game was at 1:30 p.m. for the women's game.
The men have had to have sold out recently. Have they not?
No,
crazy.
Haven't sold out for 21 years, I believe, on the women's side.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, they have a good environment there. It's sneaky underrated.
Yeah, people lined up 5 hours early to get in and see Caitlin Clark and the girls play Wisconsin. I think they battled for a while, and then Iowa kind of extended that and won by 20 late. Caitlin passed 4 people on the all-time college women's scoring list. Passed 14, 13, 12, and 11. I think she's up to 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of those people were Elena Deladon and Maya Moore. So that's good. Yeah.
Crazy.
Arguably 2 of the best 6 WNBA players, at least for a while, at some point in their careers.
So Caitlin's on track to be a very successful WNBA player.
You would think,
if we're going by the statistics.
Right.
Yeah. I saw that it was what team's Indianapolis? The Fever?
Yes, they got the number 1 pick in the lottery. Looks like she's going to be going there. If she leaves.
Come back. Or come back.
I still think it's a conversation. I think the real dilemma.
I think Beth has got to make Caitlin an offer she can't refuse.
What, give her a piece of the university? Name the fucking Carver after her? We rename it Clark Arena?
I don't know. We could give her something. Like, I don't know.
Dude, how can we as a university give her more than she's getting from Nike or State Farm?
Well, I think she would still get that if she stayed, wouldn't she?
You're right.
I don't think that's the debate. I
think at this point, what I'm saying is between Hy-Vee, State Farm, Nike, and whatever other big deals she has, what is enough to make her stay? Because she's still going to have those when she goes on to the WNBA.
I think it would just be making the university would have to get her a blank NIL check that's bigger than her WNBA contract.
Well, that's not going to be hard to beat the WNBA contract.
That's what I would assume. And I don't know, maybe there is we're going to name a portion like of the stadium after you, or like we're going to give you a statue or something.
Do you think anyone would blink an eye if the like after her final game as a Hawk, they announced that they were like going to build a statue of her outside of Carver?
Is there a statue outside of Carver already? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's Dan Gable. I'm pretty sure he's like.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Carver in a little bit.
Like I don't think you can enshrine Caitlin immediately once she's done as a Hawk, and I don't think anyone is like, "Whoa, that was a little too soon." Everyone, would be like,
I think you do have to let those things simmer a little bit.
I think it's better to, but I don't think anyone would be like, "Eh."
Yeah, it's kind of like a jersey retirement. It's like you got to let it wait a little bit. Like, was anyone in doubt of like there's a lot of athletes like there's never a doubt they're going to get their jersey retired, but you let it simmer a little bit.
And she's one of them. Like.
Yeah, she'll have a jersey retirement for sure.
Yeah. Finally, all the way back to the NFL where we started the conversation. Did you see the graphic today of the leading tight end receiving guys for the year?
Yeah, I did. There was one guy on the Chiefs who I'd never heard of. He seems to be a young, good player, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, he's got some potential.
Right? Yeah, and then 3 Hawks.
Yeah,
three Iowa Hawkeyes.
Hawk, Kittle, Laporta, or Hawk, Laporta, Kittle. One of those.
Yeah. And then
orientation.
I'd love to see the stats. I feel like Fant can't be that far behind either.
He's got to be close,
especially if the Seahawks, they're a good team, but like I feel like if he was on the, this is nothing against Laporta too, but like I think if Fant was on the Lions,
a better team,
well, like he would be, he's very capable of getting all these yards as well.
Yeah, Fant's a good. I'm not going to put it all on, maybe Noah could be working harder too. I don't know. Just knowing what I know about Noah and seeing him and his ability in practice, he is more than capable to be doing what those other 3 are. I just don't think he was with the Broncos and he did well with the Broncos, but they were bad
he just had a lot of, unfortunately, he had a lot of injury issues.
He was hurt. And injuries have hurt him.
Really bummed me out. Like I wish Noah was still on the Broncos. I was really upset when
he's a dog. Yeah, he's a dog. We got to get him on the show.
No, yeah, you talked to him in Nashville. He was friendly.
Yeah, he said he would come on.
Oh,
he was like, dude, walk on. Yeah, we'll have him on this off season. I thought of a couple other people we got to have on this off season too, where I'm just building a list for the 2024 off season. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. We figured out a way to go 54. What?
You're skipping over very important news.
What's the most important news that we forgot?
That Tory Taylor is your 2023 Ray Guy.
Oh shit! Well, I mean, at this point, everybody's celebrated it. Yeah, unbelievable. I believe Tory just finished with a 46.2 average. Insane. Who would have thought that we would get this kid from Australia? No one knows who he is. He comes in and for 4 years, he's just been dominating. I mean, just it's what a story.
Well, he's literally too, like he's in college. Like I think he's the most famous punter of all time. I've never seen a punter get so much attention in the media, in social media.
Yeah, and a lot of that is due to like game day. Not just, and you know what? And maybe the Iowa offense helped that a little bit because it shined on Tory Taylor. The light shined on Tory, where the offense lacked and kind of left more to be desired. It opened this path for Tory to get all this love. And I felt like every week on game day, they were throwing jabs at the Iowa offense, but then there would be like, but this Tory Taylor guy, he's, like, and Pat McAfee obviously giving him a ton of love. He has got to be the most famous college punt while in college.
How many in FBS? How many other punters can you name outside of Tory Taylor?
I can name several, but most people can't.
I just feel like if you ask the average college football fan outside of your team and Tory Taylor, how many punters can you name?
Yeah, nobody can.
Like, I think it's under 5 for most people.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So cool,
I'm so glad that he got nominated and accepted that award, and was given the award, because we went through this with Keith Duncan in 2019. Dunk had a Lou Groza award-winning year. It was clear. Even by the objective metrics, it was clear. But definitely by the subjective metrics of like clutch kicks and all that. And they gave it to fucking Rodrigo Blankenship, who choked one in a dome in the conference championship against Alabama. Never get over that. And Keith got snubbed. And there was some real bias going on there. And people don't understand. It is harder to win that award if you play for a team north of, in the northern United States, because the ball does not fly as far when it starts to get cold.
The winner this year was Miami, Ohio's kicker.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a match kicker.
Yeah, love that.
Boy up north.
So I took a look at the previous 20 Ray Guy Award winners. And other than last year, Adam Korsak for Rutgers, who was another guy from Australia, absolute baller. Yeah. There hasn't been a guy in the Big Ten, or maybe even north of, like, what is the Mason-Dixon line, a horizontal line?
No, it goes around states. I think it goes up to dips with Maryland and then goes up to Kentucky.
Well,
I don't know.
A state that features snow in November and December, there has not been a punter who's won that award other than Korsak and now Tory in the last 20 years. They've all come from the SEC, San Diego State. There might have been one from Utah, but you get into those elevated,
the ball's going to go farther.
Thinner air, the ball goes further. It's like when you go golf in one of those states, you're like, holy shit, the ball flies a little different. Yeah, so he's defying odds, and it was amazing to see. Really hope that we can nail him down for a podcast as we get into the NFL prep.
Well, I mean, you're friendly with him, I would say.
Should be able to. He joked. Well, I'll leave it at that. He joked that he wasn't going to come on at one point, but we'll see.
Well, congrats to Tory, though. Well deserved.
Huge congrats. Love to see it. Man, it's cool when an Iowa guy. And then he and Coop were named All-Americans, Walter Camp All-Americans, which is one of 5 of the nominating committees that you need for consensus, which gets your name, not your name, your picture on the wall in the All-American room. And Jay Higgins was named second team. So
great season.
Got some unbelievable season out of him. So love to see guys get recognized for their efforts on the field. Iowa, the longest streak in the country right now with Walter Camp All-American first teamers, dating all the way back to 2019.
Wow. Really? Can you name all of them?
Well, we have those 2 this year. Last year it would have been Laporta and Jack Campbell.
Wasn't? Okay.
Or maybe it was Campbell. Maybe Laporta wasn't. Actually, it probably wasn't Laporta. It was probably Campbell last year. In 21, it would have been
Linderbaum?
Oh, no. Was Lindy still there in 21? I think he was. Yeah, so Linderbaum in 21. In 20, it would have been – God, who was balling in 20? It was Davion Nixon. And in 19, I believe that would have been Geno Stone.
Wow.
Was it Geno?
I don't know.
I got to look it up. I know that those are the other 4. 2019 Walter Camp All-American team. I can't remember anybody else on the Like I start to really get
It's probably
fuzzy.
someone they were just screaming about, like, how on earth could you forget this dude?
Yes, everybody at home was like, "You dumbass!" It might have been oh no, I don't see it, but there's got to be somebody.
It's
You
good.
can edit this
Yeah,
blank
sick.
space out. Oh,
Good. It's good podcast.
T Daddy Werfs was
Oh.
still on the team then. I thought he had graduated already, but Werfs.
2019.
So Werfs, it was Werfs, Nixon, Linderbaum, Campbell, and now Tory Taylor and Coop DeJean. So 5 years in a row. 5 years in a row that we've had somebody on there. Longest streak in the country, which means even Alabama, Georgia, one of the last 5 years, those teams have not had somebody on the All-American team for Walter Camp. So pretty impressive shit.
Pretty
You
impressive.
got anything else for the people, Grant?
I don't, off the top of my head, no. Just thank you for listening. Appreciate you guys. It's always great. I just love being here. I just love being able to talk football.
I do too.
Always grateful.
I really fear that this just you and me could be more and more here. Like Drake leaving the main show like has me insecure about like where this thing is going, and I'm like, is it just going to be me and Grant like talking to the people? How many people are going to stick around for that? I hope everybody.
It is like there is this episode will be a little I don't even know what the term would be for it, because there's a contingency of people who, like, I've met them at Back Pocket and stuff. They're like, oh, Grant, like, you don't really talk that much. Like, you should talk more. It's like, okay, you get more Grant here.
Oh, some people will definitely love it.
There's also another side of people who are going to be disgusted that there's this much Grant in this episode, and they're going to turn it off in 5 minutes.
Grant.
Yeah, they're like, he's ruining the show. We hate this guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they cancel each other out. Maybe there's a dip or something. I don't know.
We will see. Everyone who was here, and especially who stayed this long, thank you so much for continuing to listen. We will continue to innovate and keep this show fresh and enjoyable and entertaining as much as we can. Thank you to everyone who's signed up for the Patreon and continues to sign up for the Patreon. This is your last chance to donate to the kids. We are sending in our donation next week. I will tally the numbers next week. Sign up now at any level, monthly or annual, and your donation, half of it goes straight to the children at the Children's Hospital. Why not, during this time of giving and holidays and being thankful and grateful for what we have, take a look over, just like at the end of the first quarter, and look into those windows and help us help the kids for Christmas. We donate to the Child Life Fund, which provides blankets and experiences and toys around the holidays and throughout the year. It's an incredible cause. Oh, and by the way, not only do you get to donate money to the kids, but as a secondary perk, you get all the stuff that comes with the walk-on Patreon. So discounts on the merchandise. We're going to have some exclusive merch coming out in the beginning of the new year. You get ad-free listening. You don't have to listen to the ads that we talked about earlier on the show, unless I do a live read about Culver's. You get the Discord. You get the DHT. You get the Drake and Gary Friday. You get everything. And you donate to the kids. So that's my pitch right now. Again, thank you to all who are doing it and continue to do it. We will talk to you next time. Until then, peace.